Hello, I'm Lizzie.
And I'm Izzy, and we need help.
Each week we stumble through a new book, method, or concept that brings us one step closer to being our best self.
Yes, we make fun of ourselves.
And others.
But mostly just ourselves. So here's to not taking self-help quite so seriously.
Welcome to the Afterbirth, the Afterbirth. Wasn't that gorgeous?
It was so pretty, but I think I prefer the original tune.
Welcome to the Afterbirth, the Afterbirth, the Afterbirth. Yeah.
Today
Hi.
we are doing, hi, how are you?
I'm great.
Good, I'm really excited. Today we're doing the Afterbirth for Rich Daddy.
Daddy!
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, this book has been amazing for me.
Me too.
I gotta tell you, a completely different mindset for me money-wise.
Me too. And it's done quite a bit. Like, I want to be smarter with my money. It's really amazing.
Yes,
it's
me
really
too.
amazing.
And it's opened the dialogue for smart money in this house, like big time.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert Kiyosaki with the
Robert Kiyosaki. So the Afterbirth, I was supposed to Facebook stalk the rich girls from my high school.
Okay, so the thing was she thought in high school the Jeep that her dad almost bought her but didn't because Granny moved in and got her a Skyhawk, a Buick Skyhawk. The car of all cars. I think that's going to make a comeback soon, by the way.
Because of this podcast.
Because of us.
Thank you, Buick.
Hey, let's post a picture of a Buick Skyhawk on the We Need Help Instagram.
Okay, cool. We're doing it.
To try to get it moving. Okay, but she was gonna get a Jeep, which apparently was only cool in Inverness High School.
It was William Fremd High School.
William Fremd High School.
Like the car that you wanted was like a forest green Jeep, like Safari, like Wrangler. The Safari ones. Yeah. Forest green with like tan leather interior.
The kind that like fucking annoying people drive now. Just so you know, like they were annoying Jeep people.
Annoying people drove it back then too, and I'm so glad that my higher power chose to save me.
God is watching,
He's
God is watching,
God's like, you ain't gonna be a basic bitch.
You're not basic. Get in this Skyhawk.
Basic girl. You can get in that Skyhawk.
You fancy.
I'm so fancy. You already know.
Oh, who's that? Who's that sexy bitch in a Skyhawk? Whoa. Oh my God. What were you listening to in your Skyhawk? Like Pearl Jam?
Oh,
it was Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam or The Doors, depending on whether or not I dropped acid that day. It depends on what else did I listen to?
Did you drop acid and go to school?
No. Okay. But there was people that did that. I don't think I could handle it.
I've never dropped acid.
I do not have a poker face. So
no shit.
Some people, there was like these guys who would drop acid and just go to class, but they had like the best poker, like teachers couldn't tell. You would be able to tell. Like I cannot play poker. I have zero poker face. So I knew myself a little too well.
What kind of drugs did you do when you went to school?
Weed, coke, loads of acid, shrooms.
Okay. Hey, listeners, don't send your kid to an affluent school. They have too many drugs. We had White Cross, and I think I got high on like a $7 joint.
What's White Cross?
It's speed.
Oh, I thought that was like glue.
Yeah.
Like you sniff glue because
No,
people did that
no,
too.
I'm sure people did that, but I think that was just, I mean, is that a drug, really?
Yeah. Oh, and whippets. I did whippets.
Oh, wow, I did whippets too.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It
I
was
don't like it.
weird. And it makes your voice so,
Well, and like you'd
so I didn't
pass
like that
out,
either.
right? Would you pass out? Or
Kind
would you
of.
just be
Yeah, you
like,
can't
oh,
yeah, you
oh.
kind of I don't know.
I don't like any of that.
It wasn't
No,
good.
I did Zimas and went to
What's
school once. It's
like
just a beverage, an alcoholic
oh,
beverage.
that's the thing I could never ever ever drink again because I got real sick. Ice House and Zima. Like
Oh
those are
yeah,
the two
those were
things.
big. Those were big back
Mm-mm,
then.
could not. Because I got sick, and if you get sick off something, you can never drink it again,
Yeah, I think that
except
like
vodka. Because I just
adulthood is just slowly eliminating things you can drink.
yeah.
You know, that's all adulthood is. Kids don't rush.
Yeah,
Don't rush in.
yeah. What was the first
So
thing you ever drank? Like the very first thing you
mm,
ever drank?
whiskey, and I never could drink it afterward. I like almost killed myself on whiskey.
Okay.
And I kept pouring. I stole my dad's, and I was making his drinks because we were like, I was taught to make a dry martini at like, I think 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're Irish. It's cool to do that to your children. But my dad was having whiskey, and I was pouring it into my Sprite can and drinking it, just sitting there drinking. I'm sure they knew. My dad was
Yeah.
probably like, what a fucking loser. But my dad didn't care so much, and he just went to bed. And all of a sudden I was like outside, and my sister's like, you need to get up. And then I'm all of a sudden puking on myself.
Oh.
And the next thing I know, I'm in the shower. My sister's like crying to my dad. My dad's like, what the fuck did you do?
Oh
It was
man.
horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Actually, the first thing I ever drank, I was 4 years old. And I got in our refrigerator. My mom was dating a man named Earl. We called him Earl the Pearl, sweetest man in the world.
Oh.
And I got in the fridge, and he always kept a peppermint schnapps in there. And I screwed it, and took a swig out of it, and I was like, like I couldn't breathe for a very long time, and then I didn't drink for another 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
It just wasn't my thing at 4.
No.
We go in phases. What was your first thing you ever drank?
First thing I ever drank champagne. See, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I was rich
You
before I was
are
rich.
fucking lifestyles of the rich and famous.
I mean, I was telling Lizzie before we started recording that I could never sleep on planes. Like, I just cannot physically fall asleep in the sitting position on a plane. So I was born for business class. And then champagne was like the first thing I ever drank. So that
what
was
a great
champagne.
buzz. No wonder you've probably been chasing that champagne buzz for
I have. It
years.
was like
Yeah.
it's forever.
This feels
But then
great.
the first time I really, really got drunk was off of Jack Daniels. And we were I was on a ski trip when I was a freshman in high school. And we had there was a bottle of Jack Daniels. And I remember I was super nervous because I saw like I was so insecure. I didn't understand how these girls could talk to these boys, period. I was like, I don't know how to
Right.
do that. And then suddenly somebody handed me a glass of Jack Daniels and I drank it. And suddenly you speak my language. I can talk to everybody.
I can talk to you now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
I
does.
think that's what booze did for me. It like released the Kraken. Like, I could
Yeah.
finally be the Isabella that I was afraid of, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a glass of Jack Daniels. And then of course I passed out and puked. And the chaperone who was he was our gym teacher and he was our driver's ed teacher.
We had one of those. He was
Ours was great, Mr. Sadowski.
I feel like he had a speech impediment. You almost
Mr.
did
Sadowski.
it. Okay, I knew
He
it.
didn't have a speech impediment, but that's what we did. We're like,
Oh, of course. We had Mr. Frattinger.
Sadowski.
It was like Frattinger.
Sweet Mr. Sadowski.
It was
I'm
Frattinger.
wasted. I'm so wasted, Mr. Sadowski. So he wakes me up. He
I'm
wakes
gonna
me
watch
up.
this nonstop now.
Mr. Sadowski, no! And he woke me up and he's like, we're going to have to tell your mother. And I was like, no!
I don't have one. She's dead.
She's a Nazi. She's going to kill me. And I was like,
She's a Nazi.
I was begging him. I'm like, please don't.
She was one of the bad guys in Poland, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like she wasn't part of the resistance. Let me just tell you.
She was all for it.
So he told me, go home and one of your parents has to call me and tell me that you told them. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I told my dad, and I'm like,
now.
yeah. Like, so I told my dad, and he's like, oh, okay. So he just called Mr. Sadowski, and
oh my God.
and it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, we had Frattinger. And he had like a tick. Really. And I had it down. It was like, but he was our principal. He wasn't our driver's ed teacher. Our driver's ed teacher, I shouldn't say his name, Mr. Thomas. He was like, I remember I got behind the wheel the first time. He goes, no matter what you do, you're probably not going to be a good driver because you're a woman.
I'll show you.
And he was right. He was right. Whatever.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So I did stalk the Facebook girls, the girls on Facebook.
Okay, so long story short, she didn't get a Jeep. She wasn't cool. She thinks if she would have gotten a Jeep, she would be much happier even today.
Yeah, it all started when I was in therapy. The therapist's like, where do you want to begin? I'm like, the Buick Skyhawk and the Jeep.
If I only had a Jeep, it would have been a butterfly effect like nobody's business. The Jeep.
The Jeep.
Okay.
So I stalked these girls that had the Jeeps.
Okay. We're not going to mention them by name because we don't want to get,
I was delighted to discover.
Ooh, divorces?
Many.
The
best. Here's the best.
Okay.
A few months ago, I noticed one of them had the most elaborate wedding ever.
Okay.
Like ice sculptures, chocolate fountains.
Like in the 6-figure range wedding.
Right. One of those like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
Fireworks, and then the wedding shot with the kiss and the fireworks.
Oh, she was almost Indian wedding. Almost Indian wedding.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
And this was like pre-COVID. And then I logged on to her Facebook to check her out. All evidence of this wedding gone. Return to her maiden name. All evidence of this man gone.
Okay.
And I just thought, oh, well, that wasn't the best investment. Rich dad, poor dad would think that was probably a liability.
I think those big weddings are like kind of
the kiss of death.
They're not good on a marriage to begin with.
Yeah, it was, I remember looking at this elaborate wedding thinking, geez, but okay, all the best. And now it's so that, you know what? None of this makes me happy.
I will say, I don't think you can base happiness on a divorce because anybody who's been divorced will say, and I can speak very clearly, that there's nothing that makes you happier than a divorce.
I know. I had a friend who,
Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Yeah, because apparently my neighbor has decided to drill.
Oh, maybe not. Should
Okay.
we? Let's.
No,
All right,
let's
let's
just
keep going.
continue until it gets going again. Okay.
Okay, so you had a friend.
We'll be back after
be back.
this. We're back.
We're back. Oh my God.
So the divorces, I had a friend who got divorced and she had a party for her divorce and she put the invitations to her divorce on the back of her wedding invitations. So she crossed out her wedding invitation and on the back of her wedding invitation, she had her divorce party invitation.
I think
that was so fun.
I love divorce parties. I think it's such a fun. Okay. This is hilarious.
Well, it'll just have to be.
Yeah, it's going to be. This is what it's like to live in an apartment building in Warsaw.
Listen, this is Poland. I went upstairs and I'm like, can you please stop drilling? Because I'm trying to record something. And they're like, sure, no problem. And they started hammering. So too bad. We're just going to have to deal.
Okay.
I'll mute.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it. No, don't bother. It's okay.
So that was one. The other one, this didn't give me like happiness that she was divorced, but I noticed that I am financially, I think I'm doing better than all of them. That kind of made me happy that.
Oh God, I bet your ego was humping that pretty well.
So, so it just made me think like my entrepreneurial spirit, it's work. It did work for me. And maybe the fact that I did get that silver bullet Skyhawk propelled me to
changed
reach for the stars because I realized I have to work for it. It wasn't just
in the name, Sky.
Hawk.
Stars.
Yeah. And what is a Wrangler? Wrangler's just wrangling on.
Yeah.
I'm the Skyhawk. Skyhawk's a way cooler name.
She's wrangling her food stamps right now.
But I do think there's something in whether you're given something or whether you have to work for it yourself. So.
Well, yeah, because in the first episode, I noticed that you said, you in America, you at 16, you get bought a car. And I thought, like, I didn't get bought a car. Like, is that a thing? Do people get bought cars?
People do,
like, is that normal?
It's normal in the US. It's not normal in Poland. People in Poland don't even get their driver's license until they're like 30, which that I don't get. There's no driver's ed.
Well, that's a new thing around here. These like millennials, they're like on their parents' couch, not wanting to get. Yeah. I at 8:01 on my birthday, I was at the DMV. Get me the fuck out of my parents' house. I couldn't wait to go out and make some poor decisions in my Buick Skyhawk that I bought for $2,000.
Yeah.
$2,000. It was like the most money I could ever think of.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So they're not happy and we're happy about that.
Well, no, they seem, how on Facebook, everyone seems really happy. But from what I could tell from a material standpoint, I seem to be doing a little better, which then made me really happy.
Have you traveled more? Do you think you've traveled more?
Yes, absolutely.
These are things that make me happy. Do you have better food?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have more friends?
No.
She's quality, not quantity.
But yeah, it just seemed from a material standpoint and from like there was more going on. So, that's it. Because when I was in high school, it was the material thing that I was longing for.
Yeah. Yeah. And you ended up getting it.
But I ended up getting it. I bought myself the nice car that I wanted. It was all me.
Did you ever? And I think you're planning on getting a Jeep to go out to your country home, right?
Yeah, I want to leave it there. I don't want to drive it back and forth because Jeeps on highways are like awful. Jeeps are supposed to be for like off-roading, and there's like roads through the forest, and it's very hilly there. So but I want like an old Jeep. Like I don't want this new.
The 2-door ones, like my Aunt Karen has one. They even make them now. They're new, so you can get one that like is fully functioning, doesn't have any. Yeah. But it looks like the old ones, and they're so adorable.
I just want an old one, and just to have it there. So like when we drive to the local store, We just take the Jeep because the roads are they're dirt roads and they have huge holes in them because they're like in the middle of a forest. So,
Right. Okay. So what else do we have?
cool. We got a 401k. What percent of Americans have a 401k? And this was quite
Ooh.
surprising that only 32% of all Americans have a 401k, and only 59% of employed Americans are using this 401k option. So,
Wow.
yeah, and then I'm like, well, what exactly is a 401k? So, a 401k is an employer sponsored investment plan. So you can put money into it. You get, stocks at better rates. The return is anywhere from 8 to 10%. And it actually started with a bunch of executives at Eastman Kodak and Xerox who wanted tax havens for their bonuses. So they lobbied Congress for some type of mechanism which they could stockpile their bonuses, their money, and not be taxed on it until they retired. So basically,
Perfect.
yeah. And this benefits manager, his name was Ted Benna. He figured out a way to implement it for all employees, not just the ones with the corner office. So
Okay.
yeah,
Very
basically when you
cool.
retire, and you receive the money at retirement, you're
Mhm.
just taxed an income tax rather than an excise tax or a capital gains
Right.
tax, which is
Yep.
what you would get taxed on if you were investing the money yourself
Right.
and tried to pull it out earlier. So it's actually a pretty good system, but only 32% of all Americans use it, 59% of those employed.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's amazing. So come on, people, get your 401ks together,
Get
I
the
guess.
401ks together. Yeah, because that's just
Yeah.
like, thinking about
It's
retirement. So
8 to 10% return. That's not shabs.
yeah, not shabby at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So $10 for every $100.
Yeah. Not bad.
No, not bad at all.
Not bad. So I also said that I would. I researched where God takes care of the sparrows came from.
So my dad always uses the term whenever you're down and out. He's like, honey, God takes care of the sparrows. So where did it come from?
So this came from the Bible, actually.
Uh-huh.
So those who were poor and came to temple and could not sacrifice like a lamb or a sheep or a goat or something, they would bring a sparrow to give to the temple, and that God appreciated even the sparrows. And the sparrows were kind of cheap and insignificant, but God still was concerned with these little
So he
birds.
accepted the dead ones as a
Yeah, it's and God's eye is on things that we deem insignificant. Yeah.
okay.
So there was a couple of quotes from the Bible where God was like mentioning the sparrows and taking care of the sparrows. So that's where
I'm
that came
not
from.
surprised my dad grew up in a Methodist home.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that was
Yeah,
mentioned quite a bit.
that might have been where that came from. I loved your
Yeah.
quote from the episode, "Sparrows do well in a hurricane." I did not find where that came from.
Well, in fact, I remembered there's a song like two sparrows in a hurricane trying to find their way. It's like a Reba McEntire song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
So
I did see
that stuck with me.
there's a lot of hymns about sparrows. So
Yeah.
okay.
But Reba, I will say it's Reba. I might be
Reba
wrong.
Mac.
The Mac Daddy,
Yeah.
the
And
Mac Mommy.
lastly, I promised in the last episode that I would share the link for the Festivus report, which
Oh
is
yeah.
Rand Paul. He is the senator for Kentucky. He was an American physician. He's a politician, and he basically comes up with an annual report that cites government waste in terms of how many tax dollars have been wasted. And the report is found on his website, which is paul.senate.gov, Gov. And there you can download the report. He has tons of waste reports, meaning not about garbage, but about government wasting dollars. And
Yeah.
it's really eye-opening, the amount of money wasted for the military, like
Oh my God. The military
Afghanistan.
complex.
It was, it was very eye-opening. So you can download that report at paul.senate.gov. And just read about all the tax dollars being wasted. So
very interesting. Very interesting. So go check that out. Anything else?
That's it for today.
This has been a lovely Afterbirth.
It's been the best Afterbirth ever.
I love your Afterbirth.
I love the Afterbirth.
I love your Afterbirth. Ha. I love you so much. I'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Rate and follow us if you like us. If you don't, please don't.
And come visit us at www.theweneedhelppodcast.com. There you can find show notes, links for books. You can join Audible, which is, how we actually read our books. We listen to them. And we have special exclusive content just for you. Also, feel free to subscribe to our Patreon account. That's where you can support us financially because we need it. And it can be anywhere from $1 to $100 billion a month, whatever you can afford. And the link to our Patreon account is www.patreon, and that's spelled patreon.com/We Need Help Podcast. And you can support us on there. We would really appreciate it because we do need help.
Awesome. And we will see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Thanks,
Bye.
loves. Bye.